Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and it's nice to be back with you here in the 118 studio after a few days away down south in London. But we're back, and I had to get right into things because what a busy day for Celtic and Scottish football. We had a bombshell exclusive dropped earlier on about the state of Scottish football moving forward. We had news in regards to Kasper Schmeichel, amongst other things. So yeah, it's a late one. I only got back here about an hour ago, so we're still going to try. I'm knackered, but we can get the job done. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. That would be much appreciated. As I said, it's nice to be back. It feels good to be back to normal. And with all my gallivanting done and behind me for the next wee while, it's time to get back into the rhythm of uploading regularly as business goes on. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about today. Hit those buttons down below and let's waste no more time. Sadly, this portion of the video could be quite triggering to some people, so I would just like to give warning in advance if it's not for you. If you have any issues with this point of the video, there is timestamps in the description below should you want to skip to the next topic. But considering how big this is in relation to the club and the statement from the club themselves today, it would be ignorant of me not to cover it. As I said, you can skip below and take yourself on to the next segment. So earlier this afternoon, Celtic confirmed that there was a resolution in the courts with the historic abuse cases in relation to Celtic Boys Club. Here was the statement in its entirety via Celtic themselves. Celtic Football Club can confirm that a number of legal claims in the group proceedings against the club have been resolved. We are hopeful that the settlement can be reached and with the remaining group members shortly. For some time we have sought to work with the group members' lawyers to reach a resolution. The club acknowledges the strength of the survivors of abuse who have come forward and hope that this resolution may help them to bring some closure. Celtic Football Club is appalled by any form of historic abuse and has great sympathy for those who suffered abuse and for their families. The club is very sorry that these events took place at Celtic Boys Club. The club takes this abuse extremely seriously because of the historic contacts between the two organisations. The abuse of young people is an abhorrent crime which has unfortunately affected many areas of society. The club continues to work with Scottish football to make it a safe place for all young people. I couldn't echo any louder what Celtic have already said in their statement. My thoughts go out with everybody who was affected by these heinous crimes. There's no place for it anywhere in football, no matter your creed or colour of team you support, if you're a Celtic fan or whatever, and it's certainly not a matter to be taken lightly or to be used as a joke. Very serious, with families and people affected. So yeah, I'm glad that there is some form of justice, and I never think there will be true justice for those who have been affected, but I'm glad that there has been some form of agreement and resolution through the courts to come to a resolution. And yeah, a horrible situation altogether, and my thoughts, as I said, with everybody affected. And just on that note, it's a very serious matter, of course, and one not to be taken lightly. But the justice, well overdue for these people. And I know that, as I said earlier, there will never be full justice. I don't think there ever can be in situations like this, but long overdue. Glad to see and glad to read that there is something that has now been done and a breakthrough been reached. But yeah, of course, horrible situation, and my thoughts goes out with everybody affected. So what a huge day for Scottish football. We had a huge exclusive drop earlier about the potential restructuring of the SPFL Scottish Football Pyramid and its totality earlier on, which looked like an April Fool's Day joke at first, but no, it's real, it's very real. And there's been quite the reaction online, because when you hear the word restructuring when it comes to Scottish football, it's not what you would have thought, it's not what all of us have asked for. It was something completely different. So this is the post that dropped earlier via Herald Sports Scotland. Stephen McGowan now, of course, working with the Herald. And everybody that I knew initially thought this was a joke, that this was an April Fool's Day prank. I personally didn't think that Stephen McGowan had it in him to pull off such a prank on April Fool's Day. And it wasn't. And I was right to believe that, because this story now been backed by Sky Sports and other various different outlets. Yeah, the SPFL plot to return to a 10-team Scottish Premiership with no top 6 split. You read that correctly. Now, you need to pay to read the full article, and excuse me being a cheapskate, but if you read the opening paragraph of the article, Stephen McGowan goes on to say that the SPFL are drawing up plans to return to a 10-team Premiership and abolish the top 6 split. The competition's working group are studying potential changes to the league in order to ease the fixture congestion caused by the expansion of UEFA club competitions, which is very interesting because this came off the back of an official SPFL announcement earlier in the day. Because earlier this afternoon, the SPFL confirmed that they will allow clubs in European playoffs to request league game postponements. All Scottish Premiership clubs playing in the European playoff round fixtures next season will be able to request postponement from one specific league match. The Scottish Professional Football League Board approved a new policy and a move designed to enhance preparations for European ties. This obviously comes after years of complaints from not just Celtic supporters, Rangers, teams that have made Europe like Motherwell, Hearts, Aberdeen, that they're not getting the chance to excel in Europe and give themselves the best possible chance of qualification, down to the incredible amount of football they're playing both domestically and in European competition. So it was confirmed that Scottish teams will be able to appeal for a match postponement, request a match postponement for match day 3 on the weekend of August 23rd, 24th, in the Scottish Premiership, and they released that in a club statement this morning, basically saying that will be possible if teams are, of course, sandwiched in between a qualifying tie. Celtic, of course, will have a qualifying tie as the coefficient has been affected. Rangers will have qualifying ties. Everybody in Scotland will need to play in some form of European qualifier this summer, and the league are trying their best to make life easier for those teams. I think it's a great move, especially for those smaller sides who don't have the depth that Celtic and Rangers do. But I didn't expect that to come with the consequences of potentially returning to a 10-team league, which nobody wants. I genuinely can't believe that we're talking about this being a possibility. I cannot believe that that is not an April Fool's Day prank. That the Scottish Premiership and the Scottish Football Pyramid could be returning to a format that not one person has asked for. It doesn't take a genius to come up with the best form of restructuring in Scottish football, and yet these guys at the SPFL and these boards of whatever they're called, match fairness and planning, have decided, you know what, a 10-team top flight, that's the way to go. We've been complaining about the Scottish League being strangled of any real excitement, and the way that they want to solve that is by making it dramatically less exciting. It seems like a joke, and it once again maybe just illustrates how unfit for purpose these current members of the SPFL board are. Now, don't get me wrong, there was another story later in the day from Sky Sports which went on to say that there is other formats being considered. They are looking at larger 14 or 16 team models. They are under consideration by the CWG as well. While a 14 team option may maintain the prospect of Glasgow, Edinburgh and Dundee derbies at their current frequency, it could cause issues around those in the bottom half playing more matches than those in the top 6 following a split. So discussions are yet to take place on timings, and while changes could be introduced for next season, the 2026-27 campaign is thought to be more realistic. So just to make it clear, this is discussions, nothing is set in stone. It's not set in stone for next season especially. It doesn't look as though anything would actually change until the 2026-27 campaign, and that is only following positive discussions and agreements being made. But I'll tell you right now, it doesn't matter what we want, it doesn't matter what makes sense. What matters is what brings in most money from Sky Sports, Premier Sports and all these television networks, and ultimately the fans will be shafted if it means there's going to be more money in the pockets of the SPFL, if there's going to be more money in the pockets of the television rights holders, and more money in the pockets of Neil Doncaster, because that's where the priorities lie in football nowadays, not with the supporters. I actually cannot imagine a 10-team league. You're talking about 8 teams outside of Celtic and Rangers having to play us so many times in a smaller season, the gap between the teams is just going to get bigger and bigger, and teams like Aberdeen, Hearts and Hibs in particular are just never going to get closer. And that was already hard enough, and would be hard enough if it was a 16 or 18 team league. But a 10 team league, you're going to see Celtic and Rangers, where the gap is already huge between them. There's 13 points between them, in fact, right now. But you're going to see Celtic and Rangers, and then you're just going to see Aberdeen, Hearts and Hibs just falling miles behind, because they have to dedicate 8 games of a 36-game season to Celtic and Rangers. Absolutely crazy. The disparity between both sides is just going to grow, and I just don't see where any sense lies in this potential 10-team structure. It is a nonsense. I don't want to spend too long tonight ranting about it. I do want to get this video up. It's something we'll probably explore in more depth over the coming weeks, but surely these are discussions that will be audibly protested by Scottish football supporters of all sides. Especially the smaller sides. I feel sorry for their fans in those clubs, because the gap's going to get bigger. We're talking about 3 leagues in Scotland, perhaps, which is just going to... it's not going to do any positives for anybody. So I feel sorry for them, and I'm sure we'll hear the voices over the next weekend of fixtures. And we'll just need to see how these discussions apparently go, if any minds aren't already made up. Sky will be licking their lips at the prospect of, no split, which guarantees 4 Glasgow derbies every year, 4 Edinburgh derbies every year, 4 Dundee derbies every year, as long as these sides are in the top flight. But they'll do everything they can to make sure they stay in the top flight. They'll throw money if they need to. I just can't believe that we're reading this today. It's not an April Fool's, and I hope that people at the heads of these discussions start to see sense over the coming days. And final wee story for tonight, it's some good news for Kasper Schmeichel. It's some good news for Celtic supporters. Well, good news is a strange term to use considering the circumstances, but you've got to remember what we were originally told about Schmeichel's injury. He could have been out for a long time, but Brendan Rodgers tonight giving us a time scale in relation to Kasper Schmeichel's recovery. Speaking to Celtic TV tonight, he said, we've had some news and we will see over the course of the next 5 to 6 weeks. That's what's been mentioned, but it's something that I think that day by day we will just have to look at it. I think the timeline that was given to us is around that, but Kasper tends to think it might not be as long as that, but certainly in the immediate future he won't be available. He was asked if he was optimistic about a return before the end of the season. He added, yes, I believe so, but like I will say, we just need to keep an eye on him. So there is a chance that Kasper Schmeichel could be back for a potential Scottish Cup final. There's a chance he could be back before the last game of the season, where we lift our 4 in a row trophy, and that's great news, because we heard that it could be September, we heard it could be season ending, a lot of people were speculating it could be career ending, so the fact that he could be back before the last day of the season is big news. It's huge news, and I hope so. As I said, there's no real rush to get him back in when Vinny Sinsalo is now going to grasp these chances, and we're all looking forward to seeing what he can do, but he deserves to be at Hampden Park on that last day of the campaign with his contributions and what he's done. It would be a gutter for him to miss out. So some big news from Brendan Rodgers directly tonight. Right, that does it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please hit like and subscribe. We're back to normal, baby, and I'll see you tomorrow. So until then, take care, hail, and I'll see you all next time.